Don't have to leave this town to see the world, 'cause it's something that I gotta do. I don't wanna look back in 30 years and wonder who you're married to. Wanna say it now, wanna make it clear, for only you and God to hear. When you love someone, they say you set them free, but that ain't gonna work for me. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. I wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. All the wasted days, all the wasted nights, I'll blame it all on being young. Got no regrets, 'cause it got me here, but I don't wanna waste another one. I've been thinking about what I want in my life. It begins and ends the same. If I had to choose what I couldn't lose, there'd only be one thing. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. I wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. I don't wanna love nobody but you. I wanna say it now, wanna make it clear, for only you and God to hear. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. Wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. I don't wanna love you. I don't wanna love nobody but you.
Hello, everybody. I think I've met most of you, and if I haven't, I am Jerry's big sister, Patricia. But I go by Pat, Patty, Trish, Paula, Pam, sometimes bitch. It depends on the day. And you can ask my brother about that. And I'm always amazed that when I say Pat, especially down south, they just look at me. And I just realized that the name Patricia is Latin, and I've been in Arizona for the last 8 years, so they only call me Patricia. So, but you can all call me Pat. And my brother, Jerry, was my little brother. And he hated it when I called him that. I'd say, hey, little brother, and he'd just look at me, and I'd say, yes, you're my little brother. He was born 13 months after myself, so yes, he is my little brother. For his birthday this year, I was in Tombstone, Arizona with a cousin of ours, and I saw this book that said John Wayneisms. And my brother loved John Wayne, as did my mother. And I have to tell you, my brother looked like my father. They could have been twins, but he acted like my mother. And my mother was a wonderful woman. She had talent beyond what you could ever imagine. She was a fun person to be with, but not so much to be the daughter, okay? But we won't go into that here. But her and Jerry were much, much alike. And that's something to be proud of, because my mother was a wonderful person. And you saw our picture, Donna and Jerry took her to her first NASCAR race, and we are a family of cars. We're from Michigan. Uncles, my father, my husband, everybody worked at General Motors putting a car together. Okay, that was your job, putting a car together. But my brother and my father enjoyed taking cars apart and putting them back together. And my brother's first car, and I think it was an Impala, maybe a 64 Impala. He enjoyed the older cars, but he had to paint it green, and I'm talking lime green, with sparkles all through it. So him and Dad took it apart, put it back together. He's got this green car with lime. He's driving it back and forth to school, which you guys think Dawsonville is small? You should go to Hemlock, Michigan, and see how small a small town is. We are a drive-through town. We have a main highway, and that's it. Right now, there's a McDonald's and a gas station. And that's what we grew up in, a small town. But one day, in a small town, there's very few roads that have pavement on it. So they were mostly gravel roads, and he decided to take this car down that gravel road as fast as he could go. Well, it didn't last long. He fishtailed into a mailbox and took the whole side out. So that was the end of that car. But I can't tell you how much my brother really enjoyed cars and fixing cars, putting the cars together, and being part of cars. And my husband's going to come up soon and talk about that as well, because they do have a lot in common when it comes to cars. My brother and I were inseparable from day one. We hung on to each other. I always call my parents the dog and pony show. If one wasn't doing something they shouldn't, the other one was. So my brother and I stuck close together to protect each other. There's many a picture that you could see. My brother and I were just inseparable. My sister Diana, who passed away in 2017, didn't come along till I was 6 years old and Jerry was 5. So it was just the two of us for those 6 years. There used to be a show, I was just talking about it with Jerry and with John and my son Alan. It was called Moving On. I don't know if anybody remembers that from the 70s, but it had Chet Akins in it. Anyways, him and his buddies just drove around the roads. This was from the 70s, and Jerry and I were like 14 and 15, and we were going to get a semi-truck, and we were going to hit the road, my brother and I. We were going to drive semi-truck for years and years and years, because that's what we were going to do. What I think in all actuality is that we were just trying to get out of Hemlock. There was that highway, and we were going to get on that truck, and we were going to get out of that small town. And I don't know if many of you know, my brother left Saginaw, Michigan, when she married Tina and Paul's mother, Belinda, and they headed south to Georgia, and he never came back. So he does enjoy it. He always enjoyed it down in the south, and this is where he stayed, and he liked it a lot. I do have to talk a little bit about our childhood and who Jerry was, and I have to have people kind of understand where that comes from. And I always think memories are like pinwheels. They blow, and then they stop based on the wind, and you'll remember something, and it just comes back, and you're like, oh, okay, I remember that. And for me, it's the smell of hay. I always think about Jerry and I on our grandpa's farm. He had a small dairy farm way out further than Hemlock, and Jerry would spend his summers there baling hay, milking cows, and he just loved that. He just loved being out on the farm. But when we were 3 years old, our little brother died, and I was 3 and Jerry was 2. And I remember being up on the hill in the cemetery, and the both of us just hanging on to each other really tight, because we didn't understand why were we there. But my father had told us to go up there on the hill and wait for him. Another time, Jerry liked to, I don't know how to describe it, and my husband does this too. They kind of agitate you to the point that you just want to grab him by the neck and be done with him. But I used to take him, and when he did that, I'd run after him and throw him to the ground, and I'd hold his nose and put grass in his mouth, and I'd say, leave me alone, because he just had that tendency to want to just be the attention, to get your attention. School was not good for my brother. School was not a good experience. He struggled. He struggled with school. He struggled to get through school. We were bullied a lot, my brother and I, in school. And a lot of who Jerry is part of being bullied through school. One day we were on the bus, and one of the bigger kids decide to bully my brother, and he just rammed his head right into the side of the bus window. And I stood up and I grabbed that kid and I threw him out. And I says, you touch my brother again, you're dead. And don't ever. But to that point, my brother never rode the bus again either. It was just so traumatic for him, the bullying that went on in that school. And people tend to like small schools, but they tend to know everybody, and people just tend to get bullied sometime. And because of that, he ended up leaving school in his 11th grade year because he just was bullied all the time. What I do want to tell you about is that the love of cars, he ended up being a great mechanic. He could have left school at 11th grade, but he was a wonderful mechanic. And my husband will talk to that, as well as how he could take a car apart and put it right back together again. And how sometimes he was asked to go to other countries and work on cars because he was so good at what he did. What I really want to put emphasis on is that my brother was very proud of his children. And I need you guys to know that when I see each of you, Tina and Paul and Savannah, I see our family. And Tina, what I see in you is your seamstress. When you post stuff on Facebook and you've done this sewing, I think of my mother and my grandmother, who were excellent seamstresses, and they knitted and crocheted. And that you received from my brother, Jerry. And also, you're a little bullheaded and opinionated. I think you got that from an aunt somewhere. I'm not going to say who, but I tend to be that way. So, but I love you for it. Paul is great at drawing. He does some of the best drawing. But my mother could draw you wouldn't believe. And she would try to enter all of her drawing and win stuff. But she never was successful at that. But she painted a mural on her home all by herself, and it was there for years. But Paul, that art you got from my mother. And then you are great at putting things together and taking them apart and putting them back together just like our dad, or just like your dad. But you also remind me of your mom, just a sweet, kind, passionate person that your mom was. And so sometimes I see your mom Belinda in you. And Savannah, the animal thing, that comes from our family. I mean, you love animals. My sister Diana was an animal fiend. Cats, dogs, even horses. And they're not easy to take care of. But our sister loved animals, as do my second daughter, Samantha. She brought home cats and dogs. It's like, stop bringing them home. And I know you do that. So I see in you my sister, and I see Samantha in you too. And those things you got from your father. And those things will be in my heart forever. And the last person is Donna. Donna, you are an angel. I cannot tell you what you did for my brother the last 12 years. And you made his life wonderful. He loved your children. He loved your grandson as his own. You embraced his children and brought them in. And you took care of him. Not only were you his wife and loved him, but you were his nurse. And I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 46 years. It is not an easy job. And to nurse family members, people think it's easy. It's not. But you gave him something other people couldn't give him. And you're an angel to me. And I will love you forever for that, because he really needed that in the end. He could be a little bit gruff. He could be a little bit, abrasive, but you have to understand where we came from and who we are today. And I will miss my brother a great deal. And he will always be with me. And every time I see my nieces, my nephews, I always will think of him. And remember, you're a part of him, because I see my family members in you too. I see my mother. I see some of my father. I see Belinda and Tina and Paul, and I see, I got to think of Savannah's mother, Vicky, and Savannah too. I'm looking right here and can't think of her name. So be proud of that, and don't forget that. And remember, over the next months or years, I want to say that my brother had vulnerabilities, but perhaps if he had been more vulnerable and shared with him what happened over the years, he might still be with us. So please seek out care, seek out help. You can call me. You guys know how to find me. I'm available. And we can go our different ways, but we're still part of my brother Jerry, okay? And I love all of you a great deal, and I'm so thankful to have you as family. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for letting me come up here and talk about my little brother. And he will always say he wasn't my little brother, but he was. And thank you very much.
He was a giant, and I was just a kid. I was always trying to do everything he did. I can still remember every lesson he taught me. Growing up, learning how to be like my old man. He was a lion. We were a father's pride, but I was defiant when he made me walk the line. He knew how to lift me up and when to let me fall. Looking back, he always had a plan. My old man. My old man, feel the callus on his hands and dusty overalls. My old man, now I finally understand. I have a lot to learn from my old man. Now I'm a giant, got a son of my own. He's always trying to go everywhere I go. Do the best I can to raise him up the right way, hoping that he someday wants to be like his old man.
I'm going to try to do this the best I can. Deep breath. When I first met Jerry, I married Pat, and he was still in Georgia. He came up to see us, and I know he came from Hemlock. And in Hemlock in Michigan, you don't have a southern accent, okay? You do not have a southern accent. So when he came to the house, he had this Ford van. They had the kids in it. I showed him my 3-car garage in the back. I had all my cars in the back, all my stuff. And he's picking things out. And my first question to him, I says, Jerry, how did you get this accent? You're from Hemlock. And he goes, well, he says, that's what happens when you go down south. And he says, it's the water. And to this day, I tell people, where did they get this accent? And I know of people from England that I met when we lived in Scottsdale, and she told me, she says, John, it's the water. Because they have that drawl and that. Anyway, getting to my point, Jerry and I hit it right off the bat. And I mean, we're just bouncing each other's thoughts. Cars. I was into drag racing. I didn't like beating up cars on a circle track. That's too much work. I like to keep cars clean. We go straight. It's only a quarter mile or an eighth mile. We come and we cool them down. You know, we talk. And so we would just get along so well. And so last summer, he came to Saginaw. We have a home up there in Saginaw now for the summer. And then Friday nights, it's a Green Acres Plaza. It's an outside mall. It's a big parking lot. And every Friday night, all the car guys come. All the car girls come. And my wife doesn't go there. That's one thing we don't have in common. But anyway, when we first dated, I would take her, and then I knew the fact. All right, she's here for a reason, okay, other than my car thing.
Well, the first date, he said, I'm going to take you to the sprint races.
The sprint cars, I like.
And that was a circle track. I said, okay. And
It's dirt.
He come to pick me up, and I had a white shirt on. Are you really going to like that? And I said, well, I think so. I like it. And he says, you might want to change it. And I said, okay, but I didn't. And it was black, and I got it.
It was clay. And it's a half-mile dirt. I mean, noise, you know. Anyway, that's what I like about circle track. Anyway, getting to another point. The talent. We all have a talent. God gave us that talent. Through our parents, through our relatives, what we like to do when we get up, what we like to do for a profession, what we might want to, whatever. I mean, we have this talent. And Jerry had this talent. And I would respect that so much from him, because he would correct me a lot of times, because he knew the whole aspects, taking stuff apart. I mean, it was just, and all my friends are car guys. And that's what I hung around with. But there's one word that I came up with the other night when I was thinking about what I was going to say here, and the remembrance of him. And one word I want everybody to look up if you don't know really what it means or what it is. And he was remarkable. Okay? Look that word up. If you think you know what it means, look it up again. Because Jerry was remarkable. I mean, nothing kind of bothered him. He got through it. He always did. He got through with it. And some of the stuff that I saw that he built, when we first went down to Georgia, we were going out of Florida, and we go to his first house in Georgia. I can't remember what town it was. And we don't know where he lived. So Pat calls in the phone. We didn't have the cell phone. We didn't have navigation. All we had was a map, you know. And so he goes, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Just stay there. We're at some gas station or something. And all of a sudden I hear this 8-cylinder motor. And it's coming down the street. And it's a Radical Nova, like a blue Nova. And I mean, this car is built. I mean, this is a race car. And I'm going, holy crap. And he comes in, the thing is just, you know, it's a race car. It's a drag car. It's a street car. And he comes, how do you like my car, John? I said, holy cow. He opens up the hood. Anyway, it's late. You know, we're going to stay at his house, their house. And he said, you want to go for a ride? And I says, hell yes. And we go out, after we drop the kids and everything, we go out on the outskirts of wherever this town, I can't remember the town. And he's just banging gears. I mean, we're flying. And I'm just, the look on my face, and he looks at me, he goes, you like that? So, I think that's about it. I thought and I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. He would really like this, because he liked family, you know. Thank you so much. Remarkable.
Gotta hold on easy as I let you go. Gonna tell you how much I love you, though you think you already know. I remember I thought you looked like an angel wrapped in pink, so soft and warm. You've had me wrapped around your finger since the day you were born. You're beautiful, baby, from the outside in. Chase your dreams, but always know the road that'll lead you home again. Go on, take on this old world, but to me, you know you'll always be my little girl. When you were in trouble, that crooked little smile could melt my heart of stone. Now look at you, I've turned around and you've almost grown. Sometimes you're asleep, I whisper I love you in the moonlight at your door. As I walk away, I hear you say, Daddy, love you more. You're beautiful, baby, from the outside in. Chase your dreams, but always know the road that'll lead you home again. Go on, take on this whole world, but to me, you know you'll always be my little girl. Someday some boy will come and ask me for your hand, but I won't say yes to him unless I know he's the half that makes you whole. He has a poet's soul and the heart of a man's man. I know he'll say that he's in love, but between you and me, he won't be good enough. You're beautiful, baby, from the outside in. Chase your dreams, but always know the road that'll lead you home again.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus. Tina's my mother. Jerry was my grandfather. I had the pleasure of spending a small portion of my life living with my grandfather. One thing I can say, because of him, I know for a fact that I have this strong love for nature and for the outdoors. He introduced me to hunting from a very, very, very young age. And one thing, and the love for guns and things like that. I can say that my grandfather was very big on guns and hunting. So to this day, I love fishing, I love the outdoors, and there's just something about nature that gives me the satisfaction of peace and pleasure. Now, I just reconnected with my mother roughly about around December after 23 years. And I reconnected with Jerry not long after. And we had a long conversation, surprisingly, when I spoke to him, because I never remembered him being much of a talker. I just kind of, I guess it just depends. But we stayed on the phone for almost 2 hours. And it's like we was trying to pack 22 years into a 2-hour-long conversation. And he was very ecstatic to hear from me. And, you know, he wanted me to come see him. And I feel really bad that I didn't get the opportunity to go see him and at least spend time with him, sit and talk with him, even if all we did was sit and talk. I'm sure that would have meant the world to him. He was very proud of my accomplishments, being in law enforcement, and he was very, very big on me coming up and just talking about politics, sports, and everything. He wanted to do all that in 2 hours. And so I said, look, I'll come see you, you know, whenever I get an opportunity, because I do work a lot. So I said, whenever I get an opportunity, I'll take some time to come see you. And unfortunately, I never had that opportunity. So I did want to come today to pay my respects. Sorry for your loss, Miss Donna. I wish that I had met you guys, reconnected with you guys a lot sooner and spent more time with you. One thing I will say, right, take the time that you have with family, okay? Please take the time that you have with family, because you never know what may transpire. You never know what may happen. And I know people say that all the time. It's very cliche, you know, but that is a true statement. And honestly, if I could go back 23 years, 22 years, granted, there might not be much I could have done, but if there was something I could have done, I definitely would have went back and made those changes. And throughout the years, I would have made more changes. So one thing we can't do is fix our past, but we can always adjust to make sure the future is better. So any opportunity you get, please, please, no matter how angry you are, upset you are, happy, sad, whatever the case may be, please always make time for family, because this is all we have, right? So, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to come up and speak on behalf of my grandfather, or for my grandfather. And like I said, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Marcus, I would like to interject. He also made Jerry a great-grandfather. We were not aware.
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Yes.
Oh, that was the other thing I forgot to mention. So, before I reconnected with my mom, my son's name is Jeremiah, but we was calling him Jerry. Now keep in mind, Jerry's 3. I just reconnected with Jerry about a month ago. So this whole time, my son's nickname has been Jerry. This is my grandfather's nickname as well. So I just think that's funny how God works, because he works in mysterious ways. And that's another thing. I'm, very unfortunate that he wasn't able to meet his great-grands. But he does have 2 great-grands, Jeremiah and London. They are 3 and 5. So
They're adorable.
hopefully one day you all will get to meet them and, have that opportunity. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have to say, I'm the talking with my brother. I think it was Donna. They just talk all the time, so she brought that out. Anybody else have anything to share? We'd love to hear it. I know it's hard, especially when you love somebody so much, to talk about them, but it does help.
I'll say something. I'm Donna's niece,
Wonderful.
and he's been in my life as long as he's been in Donna's. And one thing I know is, if we're all sitting here today, no matter